are Locked On Packers, your daily Green Bay Packers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome inside another crossover edition. It's the Green Bay Packers and the Seattle Seahawks. That means Locked On Packers, Locked On Seahawks. I'm Peter Bukowski, host of Locked On Packers, joined by my friend Corbin Smith from Locked On Seahawks. And we have a lot to get into today, a lot of quarterback talk, a lot of drama to get into, and we will get to all of that. Today's episode is brought to you by McDonald's. Proudly serving communities since 1965, McDonald's has always been more than just a place to get tasty, affordable food. It's an unofficial community center. A big thank you to our friends at McDonald's for always being there. I'm loving it. Corbin, this is a matchup that looks very different today than it did a week ago, looks very different today than it did 3 weeks ago. And that means that we have to get caught up on the latest with everything for both of these teams. What is the latest with Russell Wilson? We understand he's going to play. Are there going to be limitations? Where are we with him?
So I'm not going to go as far as saying he's 100% going to play. I mean, I would be stunned if he's not playing in this game, but Pete Carroll's been non-committal. It's your gamesmanship, coach speak as expected, but the very little that we've gotten to see the first few minutes of practice on Monday and Wednesday looks very comfortable throwing the football. He's not wearing a bandage or a glove over his surgically repaired finger, so he looks healthy. He's moving around well, and he's just, you can make the joke he's bionic, but, you look back when he had the injury, mallet finger, dislocated finger, two separate injuries that are both significant. A lot of people thought, he'll be out 6 to 8 weeks. After 3 weeks, he gets his pin removed, and he's literally throwing the next day, which just is unheard of. So he's just a remarkable healer. I'm not surprised by it because of what we've seen from him in the past. And he really is an Iron Man. It's incredible to see the commitment that he has to taking care of his body. We luckily haven't had to see that with injuries really very often. He had not missed a game until this. So, yeah, a few weeks ago, if you and I were talking, I'd be like, man, I don't think the Seahawks are going to have Russell Wilson for that game in Green Bay. And yet here we are. Russell Wilson is pretty much assured to start in this game, barring an unforeseen setback. And the Packers will probably have their starting quarterback, but similar situation where we don't 100% know, right?
Yeah, and Matt LaFleur, I thought it was remarkable. After the game on Sunday, Matt LaFleur said if Aaron Rodgers is cleared next Sunday, he will play. And that was when I thought it was maybe 50-50, given the limitations in practice. I mean, he's not going to be able to take a practice rep this week. He's going to have a ramp-up cardio period for 3 days before the game, before he can get back. And then on Saturday, he's going to have to go through a battery of tests. He's going to, it sounds like, self-report symptoms. Okay, I suppose. Like, I mean, maybe that's the best system. I don't. Seems like it might not be, but that is the protocol. That is the system. He does not need a negative test to return. So, I think all signs point to him being able to go out there. Tom Silverstein from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel made the case. Hey, this is impractical. Don't put him out there after not playing a game in, almost 3 weeks by the time that Sunday rolls around. Put Jordan Love out there again. Don't risk Rodgers' long-term health. The Packers are not doing that. They're going to play Aaron Rodgers. But there is still the medical hurdle part of this, Corbin, that they have to figure out, because Matt LaFleur said it in his press conference on Wednesday. It's not his call. It is the doctor's call. And so they have to figure out with the medical staff what they're comfortable with, his cardio levels, heart and lung health. We know professional athletes. These guys are professional top level athletes, guys like Jason Tatum, who had to have an inhaler after he had COVID, and Dakota Dozier in Minnesota, just up the road. He was in the hospital, a vaccinated player in the hospital over this. So I don't think we can just take it for granted that he's 100% going to be healthy, but all signs point to that at this point right now. What else news-wise do my listeners need to know about what's going on in Seattle?
Well, they've got a few other players that might be able to play on Sunday that have been out, including Chris Carson and rookie D. Eskridge. So the Seahawks could have a bunch of players back on offense. It'll feel like Christmas came early with those reinforcements coming at Lambeau. I mean, nobody would have thought Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers were both going to be available in this game because of Wilson's situation, and yet it might be the other way around. And it is fascinating that an unvaccinated player, Pete Carroll was talking about this a little bit today, that after 10 days doesn't even need to have a negative test, and then he doesn't get tested for 90 days. And then Gerald Everett, who was vaccinated, missed 2 games because he had to have 2 negative tests in a 48-hour window, and then they couldn't get his test in time on the day of, and they had to change protocol after that. So it just seems like that is kind of a protocol that they're just working on the fly. We had never been through this before, so it's understandable. But really, the only other key storyline for the Seahawks going into this game is their defense has actually been playing well going into last week's bye. The last 3 games, and granted, they were not playing elite quarterbacks by any means. Ben Roethlisberger is a shade of his former self. Trevor Lawrence looked like a rookie in the game they played a couple weeks ago, and Jameis Winston had 20-mile-an-hour winds and rain to deal with and was really inaccurate. Not a good day to throw the football. So this is going to be a litmus test for that defense, especially if Aaron Rodgers is out there as expected. But they're hoping to show we really have turned the corner, and it's a defense that's given up a little less than 14.5 points per game their last 3 games. They came up short in 2 of those, but Geno Smith kept them in the game. The defense kept them in the game. They like where they're heading. Now they get a real challenge against this Packers offense.
Yeah, and for the Packers, they're dealing with sort of the reverse problem, because they got a bunch of their guys back last week, and now it is okay. Who can get healthy? Who was hurt? Eric Stokes. He misses last week's game because he gets hurt in warmups. Is he going to be able to go? He practiced in a limited fashion on Wednesday. Kenny Clark left the Chiefs game with a back injury. Luckily, he was back at practice doing more than expected. Kingsley Keke returns, so that defensive front gets some reinforcements. And the big one is David Bakhtiari. He was activated on Wednesday. That is not a guarantee that he is going to be able to play on Sunday. Matt LaFleur said that there was a plan all along with David Bakhtiari. Did that plan change because of Aaron Rodgers? I don't think they'll ever give you a real answer on the truth there, because, maybe it's possible he would have played against the Chiefs if Aaron Rodgers had been out there. He was asked early last week, do you know if David Bakhtiari will play on Sunday? He said, yes, I do know, but I'm not going to tell you. So that is par for the course with Matt LaFleur. We're not going to know, probably until Sunday, probably until the inactives are announced, if David Bakhtiari is going to play. And that is a huge deal for a Packers offensive line that had some issues against the Chiefs, dealing with the blitz packages that Steve Spagnuolo put together. There has been some issues with Royce Newman, the rookie guard, who was really impressive in camp, won that right guard job over Lucas Patrick, a veteran who played that spot last year, and has been really pretty bad. But out of 69 qualifying guards in the NFL so far this season, he has the 66th Pro Football Focus grade. He was terrible against the Chiefs, and I know it's Chris Jones and they have some quality players over there, but he was really bad. There are a lot of ways that they could shuffle this offensive line, and we're going to have to see what they want to do if David Bakhtiari is back. If he's not, it's probably going to be more of the same, and more of the same could mean issues for Green Bay. I mean, that's just where they are with this at this point. This episode of Locked On Packers and Locked On Seahawks is brought to you by our friends at McDonald's. Proudly serving community since 1965, McDonald's has always been more than just a place to get tasty, affordable food. It's a place where friends and family can come to reconnect, a place where classmates can meet for a study group, knowing there's dependable Wi-Fi and endless supply of French fries and McFlurries. Diet Coke also, please. Thank you. From the fountain. Win or lose, it's a place where teammates, competitors, home team, and away team can come to recharge. And it's a place that you always look forward to stopping at a long road trip to rest your legs and refuel, especially if you're in the mood for apple pie. Come on now. And McDonald's is just a place for me, at least, to get something to make me feel good. I need a little pick-me-up. Let me just run to McDonald's. Let me just sometimes you just need fries and a soda. Let me just run through. I don't need to have a whole meal always. Great opportunity to just grab and go. So head to your local McDonald's, refuel, and reconnect. Somebody say Locked On Packers, Locked On Seahawks watch party. Sounds good to me. I'm loving it. Today's episode also brought to you by Get Upside, an app that everyone who drives needs to know about because they will pay you to get gas. Seriously. Listeners are getting up to 25 cents for every gallon of gas every time they fill up. Just download the free Get Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and use the promo code TOUCHDOWN to get a bonus 25 cents per gallon on your first fill up. That's up to 50 cents cash back. Don't pay full price at the pump. Get cash back using Get Upside. Just download the app for free and use promo code TOUCHDOWN. That's up to 50 cents per gallon cash back on your first tank. Some people who drive a lot are making $200 to $300 a month in cash back. There's no catch. The cash goes right back into your account. Cash out anytime. Bank account, PayPal, e-gift card, Amazon, whatever you want. You're already driving. You're already paying for gas. Why not get paid to do something you were already going to do? And when you use the promo code TOUCHDOWN, you'll get up to 50 cents per gallon cash back on that first tank.
All right, continuing our crossover special here, Locked On Seahawks, Locked On Packers. I'm Corbin Smith from Locked On Seahawks. Glad to be teaming up with my buddy Peter Bukowski of Locked On Packers. Always a blast when these two teams get together. They have the weirdest games when they get together. That NFC Championship game years ago, some of the regular season matchups they've had have been back and forth. And when they play at Lambeau, I swear the Seahawks, their offense just doesn't show up till the third quarter. They never do, and they're going to be hoping to buck that trend this week. But let's talk about a few matchups that concern us with our respective teams going into this game. And we'll start with you when the Packers are on offense. I mentioned this the first quarter. The Seahawks defense, they're still middle of the pack in a lot of categories, but they've really made strides over their last 3 or 4 games. And going into the year, everybody knows they've got talent. They've got 3 or 4 all-pro caliber players, but they weren't able to put things together early in the season. What matchup concerns you the most when you're looking from a Green Bay on offense perspective?
Yeah, for me, it's this Seahawks run defense because they have always been able to, even in the Legion of Boom days, they could always lock down the run. And it was an underrated part of what they were able to do. Bobby Wagner and all those guys in the middle of the field. Right now, the Seahawks 11th in rush defense, DVOA. And if you're the Packers, one of the big reasons the offense bogged down against the Chiefs is that run game, Matt LaFleur just didn't stick with it. And it was working. And when teams can shut down the Packers run game, that's when the passing game can get, they press a little bit. They fall in love with these empty sets. And then all of a sudden you've got breakdowns. You've got protection busts, just flat out busts in protections, not even on blitzes, on 4-man rushes sometimes. And so that is the thing for me offensively where I'm going every week. Running the ball is so central, even if you're not going to run it more than you throw it. And I wouldn't advocate that, especially with Aaron Rodgers and especially with the matchups with these cornerbacks. And that's something that I'm sure we'll get to is if Seattle is able to keep A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones in check and make the Packers offense play left-handed, especially with Rodgers coming off COVID, with Devontae Adams working his way back. He did not look as explosive on Sunday against the Chiefs as he had the rest of the season. He's coming off COVID. That would be a major concern for me. If we're going to stay with that side of the matchup defensively, where are you looking and going, man, I don't know about this?
It's going to be ironic. I'm concerned about the running backs. You're mentioning the run defense. Seattle's actually not – the last few weeks they've been better against the run. They did really well against Alvin Kamara, held him to 2.6 yards per carry.
Yep.
The Jaguars averaged a little over 4, but they had to stop running the ball, and James Robinson got hurt. So Seattle was in control early in that game. It put the Jaguars in a spot they couldn't run the ball regardless of what they wanted to do. So the run defense has gotten better, but – they've also been atrocious defending screens, particularly to running backs. And so I really worry about, I don't care who's playing quarterback. Matt LaFleur could play quarterback in this game and dump the ball off to one of those 2 running backs on screens. And it just looks like the parting of the seas half the time. And then the Seahawks can't run any screens themselves. So you use the word screen, it's like a curse word around Seattle. So I'm worried about that dynamic duo they have just because it's 2 totally different style running backs that can both catch the ball. They can both do damage as runners and receivers. And I just worry, especially in a game where it's going to be a little cooler, potentially have 15-mile-an-hour winds out there. Running the ball is going to be imperative. There's going to be a lot of pressure put on Wagner and Jordan Brooks and Darrell Taylor, their Sam linebacker. Those guys are going to have to be able to cover these running backs, and they're going to have to be able to sniff out screens, something they've really struggled to do all year. And I feel like if the Packers stick with the run game, Seattle's front line doesn't have a ton of depth in the interior. They can get worn down pretty quick. So you might view the run defense as something that concerns you. The same thing can be said for me on the flip side, looking at the Seahawks. And I also worry about that screen game, getting the running backs involved as receivers in general. Seattle near the top of the league in yards allowed to running backs as receivers. And a large part of that's been because they have not been able to defend screens to save their lives most of the season.
On the other side, I'm looking at this Packers defense and going, okay, if Eric Stokes can't go, you've got Kevin King, who had one of his best games as a Packer, I thought, last week against the Chiefs. He's actually been very good in limited time this season. He is a favorite of fans to just absolutely attack. He certainly has been someone that I have had plenty of critical words for as well. But the Packers have been 6th defensively in explosive plays allowed. Seattle is 4th passing the ball, generating explosives. That is the thing that even though the Packers are good at it and good at preventing explosives, that is the thing, no question, that I am most concerned about with this defense is DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett being able to get down the field and create. I mean, we see it. It seems like once a game, one of them catches an 80-yard touchdown. It is just unbelievable how explosive they can be. The thought of them with Odell Beckham Jr. as well is terrifying. And so, like I said, even though the Packers defense has been good at not allowing those big plays, they're just so scary with those skilled players, with Russell Wilson's ability to extend. For me, he is the best deep ball thrower I have ever seen. He is unbelievable with the way that he can create touch and distance down the field. It seems like every time he throws a deep ball, it just lands perfectly in the arms of the intended receiver. And so even though, again, the Packers defense has been really good at this, it is downright terrifying to face Russell Wilson with those guys and the way that they can create down the field.
Yeah, if we were talking about matchups that we're excited about, favorable matchups, even though the Packers have limited those explosives, if they do not have Stokes in this game and they're down to having Sullivan playing on the outside, and then they got Kevin King, who he might have played well, but he has been a player that the Seahawks have picked on before. So that would be a matchup I'd be excited about. The problem is Russell Wilson going to have the time to be able to get the ball downfield and take advantage of those corners? Dwayne Brown, Father Time has hit him pretty hard this year so far.
Yeah.
6 sacks. I believe that's tied for the most by any tackle allowed in the NFL, according to Pro Football Focus. And you watch the film, it's been pretty bad. It just has not looked anything like his typical self. He's 36, so maybe it is just an age-related thing, but he hasn't looked right really since week 2. He started off pretty strong, but he's had his issues with speed and power rushers. Brandon Shell's been maybe a bit more consistent, but he's had ankle problems, and he's still not 100%. Had full participation on Wednesday, but he's still not fully healthy. So got to wonder where he's at right now. I would worry if I'm the Seahawks about, are you going to have the time to be able to get those deep balls to DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett? If D. Eskridge played in this game, another guy with 4.3 speed that can win vertically, maybe Odell Beckham suits up in this game. We don't know what's going to happen there, but those weapons are going to be meaningless if Russell Wilson does not have time to be able to drop back in the pocket and be able to scan the field and get those throws downfield. And I worry about Rashawn Gary with the 40-plus pressures he's got this year. Can win with explosiveness and power. You can move him around. And I think this could be a game where Preston Smith, who has honestly been pretty disappointing statistics-wise this year, he has killed the Seahawks, though, in the past. So I worry about him off the edge as well, just given the way the tackles have played. If Kenny Clark plays in the middle, sounds like he's got a chance to play on Sunday, worry about that as well. So the pass protection in general, are you going to be able to keep Russell Wilson upright coming off of an injury to allow him to have time to get the ball downfield? That is clearly the most concerning matchup to me from the Seahawks on offense standpoint. You're not going to be able to do your bread and butter if you can't protect your quarterback. This episode's brought your way by Bet Online. They're back and they're better than ever. A new web interface for the start of the basketball season. They've got more props, odds, and lines than ever before. Bet Online remains your number one spot for all the basketball and football action this season. Make sure to head to their new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use the promo code Locked On to receive your bonus. Whether it's basketball, football, baseball, NHL, boxing, UFC, you name it. Don't wait to take advantage of the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts.
So these Packers Seahawks games, even when they seem like they're out of hand, they end up not being out of hand. Both of the last playoff meetings have been that way, where the Packers have jumped out to a lead. The Seahawks came back. Now in the most recent one, they did not come all the way back, but it still took, as you mentioned, a Preston Smith sack late in the game to seal that one. That was a terrific game. That was the last time I was in a press box in an NFL stadium, because that was the last game that I went to pre-COVID. And so this is exciting to see all these guys back out here again. In terms of keys, Corbin, what do you have your eye on here to say, okay, if Seattle can do this thing, or if Seattle can't do this thing, this is the moment. This is the pivot point for this game.
You just mentioned the slow start. That has been chronically an issue in Lambeau Field. Russell Wilson's had some of his worst games in his career against the Packers on the road. I believe it was the 2016 season that he threw 5 interceptions in a game there. It might have been 4, but I mean, it was one of the worst games ever had. And maybe one of them was his fault. The receivers were just having balls bounce off their chest and off their hands. And then the Packers were opportunistic in making the picks. The Seahawks, if they want to win this game, and this is especially critical when your quarterback's coming back from an injury, you got to get Russell Wilson in a rhythm early, get him comfortable. That falls on offensive coordinator Shane Waldron. Don't go out there thinking, let's just take our shots right now. Sometimes they get way too shot happy. Get some easy throws, whether that means booting Russell Wilson out of the pocket or having a 1 or 2 step, let's just unload it. Run some dig routes, some slants, a screen. I mean, I don't know if they can run one successfully, but something quick to get Russell Wilson comfortable in his first game back, and then lean on the ground game as well. You hope to have Chris Carson back. Alex Collins has played well in his absence. You got a couple third down backs that can run the ball well when they need to. Lean on your ground game a bit. Get Russell Wilson comfortable and get off to a fast start. They can't afford to go out with 0 or 7 points in the first half, as they've done so many times in Green Bay. If they do that again, I can't see them winning this game. I'm not saying they need to score 30 points in the first half, but they need to have a competent offense, which honestly they have very rarely done in the first 2 quarters when they played at Lambeau Field throughout the Pete Carroll era.
Before we get to my side of this, can I just ask you a quick question about Shane Waldron? Because this was a big topic of conversation in the offseason, that he was going to come in, he was going to bring some of this Shanahan, McVay elements, that Russell Wilson had a hand in those conversations of bringing in Shane Waldron. You're going to get him on the move. It's going to be boots. It's going to be play action. It's going to be those shot plays, but you're going to have some of the built-ins, the checkdowns, the easy stuff. They were going to make the job of playing quarterback easier. Have you seen those differences? Because I'm going to be honest, I thought the offense would look more different this season than in years past.
Really watching this Seahawks offense, and part of it's been they've had a backup quarterback the last 3 games, but watching this Seahawks offense has felt like you're a little kid looking through the store window and thinking, I want this really bad, and you can't have it. And you saw the offense you were thinking you were going to see in week 1, where there was tons of pre-snap motion and tight ends were getting involved. The run game was working, quick pass game, 21 points real quick in the first half. And then ever since that game, even when Wilson was in the lineup the next 4 games, a lot of that stuff just kind of went away. And I don't know how much Pete Carroll has to do with that. Has he been meddling with stuff? I in this case, don't know that that's been the case. Shane Waldron's a first-time offensive coordinator. So you got to wonder if he's just gotten away from some of that stuff that worked so well in that season opener. But ever since then, it's been dangling behind that glass at the store. And you're just like, I want that so bad. And it hasn't happened. You're getting teased with it. And so maybe Wilson returning from injury now, we'll start to see some of those wrinkles they wanted so badly come back into play, maybe this weekend. But to this point, it's been disappointing, to be honest.
All right, so let's get to my key, and it is a little bit, I think, of recency bias because of what we saw against the Chiefs. But regardless of who's playing quarterback, and I'm building in the 5% chance that it's Jordan Love and not Aaron Rodgers, but I think it is just as important for Aaron Rodgers because he's going to be coming back after a long layoff, because Devontae Adams has not looked like he's 100%, and that is protect, protect, protect. And the Seahawks are 5th worst in adjusted sack rate, according to Football Outsiders. It's not like they have dynamic pass rushers one-on-one who can win consistently the way that, say, Chris Jones can. It's not to say that they have bad guys. They certainly have some players who are capable of heating up the quarterback, but they just don't have that sort of virtuoso talent that you have to be planning for game in and game out. A lot of it is done because you're able to free up Jordan Brooks on a blitz or Jamal Adams on a blitz. Jamal Adams is the best blitzing safety since I don't know who, maybe like Leroy Butler. But they need to do that to create the pressure. And if the Packers can block that up, I think they can take advantage of a secondary that frankly is going to struggle to match up with the Devontae Adams, struggling to match up with Aaron Jones split out in the backfield, those kinds of matchups. That, to me, that is the game. If you can protect the quarterback in this game at home, then you have a great chance to score enough points to beat this Seahawks team. I sort of feel that way every week, so it feels like a little bit of a cop-out, but after seeing what we saw against the Chiefs when they blitzed on 50+% of snaps, they got after Jordan Love. I don't know that you're going to see Seattle take the same approach, but I do think Seattle is going to have to be a little bit more aggressive than some teams would like to be against Aaron Rodgers to create pressure. And how Green Bay handles that with some flux on the offensive line, that's the key to me.
Yeah, that would be my second key for the Seahawks. On offense, the fast start. Defense, you got to get pressure on Aaron Rodgers. And I don't like the idea of blitzing 50% of the time because even though Seattle's corners have been better as of late, they're still not like an elite pairing of corners or anything. Right. So you don't want to put those guys on too many islands with the weapons that the Packers have, particularly Devontae Adams. But you just look at the fact that Aaron Rodgers is averaging 4.4 yards per attempt this year when he's pressured. There should be an emphasis on we need to get in the backfield and we need to get after him. And Jordan Love, absolutely, you want to get after the young quarterback. So pressure, consistent pressure, not even necessarily sacked, but they got to find a way to get consistent pressure regardless who's playing quarterback. And if they're able to do that, then I like Seattle's chances. A fast start and rushing the passer, you team those together, then Seattle might be able to finally, for the first time since I was 9 years old, win at Lambeau Field.
Well, and if they're going to have a chance, it's going to be, in part because Aaron Rodgers is coming back with the health issues. Is he going to be sharp? Is he going to be on the same page with Devontae Adams, with Marquez Valdes-Scantling, who, by the way, he has not really been on the same page with all season. They're not going to have time in practice this week to work on those connections. And so I think there are some real questions about that. Now, you bring David Bakhtiari back. If he plays in this game, this may all feel silly because it's just gonna be like, yeah, they're going to be a really good offensive line. If David Bakhtiari is back, Elton Jenkins moved back to left guard. That moves John Runyon Jr. maybe to right guard, or Lucas Patrick to right guard for Royce Newman. And now you've got 5 guys you feel really good about. But again, I think that's the game. And if there's anything else that I think is really pivotal here, it is the play of the Green Bay safeties. And that dovetails with what I was saying earlier about explosives. You can't get caught peeking. You can't get caught on double moves. And though Green Bay plays a lot of quarters, they're going to play a lot of single high too, bring Adrian Amos in the box, and that means Darnell Savage back there trying to give help to Russell Douglas, who's probably going to start at corner if Eric Stokes can't go. You've got Shannon Sullivan in the slot, Tyler Lockett opposite. He's going to have to play well, so you're not getting DK running, buck naked down the field on a play action shot play. That's going to be on someone like Darnell Savage or an Adrian Amos. And if those guys play well, and they've been playing really solid. Darnell Savage was awesome last week against the Chiefs. I mean, you watch the tape. He is flying around. This Packers defense has been playing so fast, but playing fast and playing against fast guys, not always the same thing. And in fact, you can often use that against a defense, a fast defense, because you can get them flowing the wrong way. Theoretically, that's part of what this Shane Waldron offense would want to do. As you said, we just haven't really seen it so much to this point. But it's going to be a great game. I'm really excited for it. It's Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. What more could you really ask for? And make sure you're checking out Locked On Packers and Locked On Seahawks on Monday when we break it all down. Corbin, this was great, man. I appreciate you.
Can't wait for the game. When these two teams get together, it's always a roller coaster, and I don't think it'll be any different on Sunday.